Right, let's get stuck in. Chelsea, Man United. Chelsea walking away with the FA Cup title, wrapping up the treble after their 3-0 victory over United. This is now the 6th FA Cup trophy. What are you punching your fist in the air for? What are you doing?
I didn't.
Why?
I scratched my arm.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was a fist pump. I was like, what? When did you become a Chelsea fan? How dare you? I was like, that's a real kick in the face, that.
Sorry, I didn't even realise what that looked like. I was like, oh, my arm is itchy.
Moving swiftly on, but clearly covers the end of our minds at the end of the season. Sandy Baltimore got 2 of the goals and an assist. Obviously, Rach, you were there at Wembley. Tell me what a day this was. And was it as one-sided as the scoreline suggests? Because 3-0 feels like a bit of a thumping, to be fair.
Yeah, 2 of the goals came 84th and then in injury time. I think Chelsea deserved to win it. I don't think it was they blew them away or anything like that. Yeah, United were in it. They started well in the first half, particularly. I think they started better in the first half. So it was 3-0, but maybe that flattered a little bit. But then at the same time, Chelsea deserved to win it. They were the better team. And I think Susie Rach wrote, let me read out what she wrote because I really liked this. She said, unflustered, unrivaled and unbeaten, which was kind of poetic. A really good description of it. She said, for the most part, United weren't that bad. Chelsea were just better when it mattered most. And I think that really summed up the game. The first goal coming as a penalty, injury time of the first half. Again, we've talked about it being such a sickener when you concede at that time of the game because now you have to rethink your whole halftime talk. So that would have knocked the wind out of you a bit. It was a bit stop-start then in the second half. We had 15 minutes of injury time across the 2 halves, which is crazy. So, I think Chelsea very much deserved it, but it wasn't as maybe one-sided as the scoreline suggested.
Yeah, I've definitely got to agree with that. But I do think there were moments that Chelsea were completely dominant and I didn't feel like Man United really had a hold on the game. And I think even when you look at the stats, 12 shots for Chelsea, 6 of those on target, only 5 for Manchester United and 2 on target. Chelsea had 61% of the possession to Man United's 39%. So I think even the stats kind of show, yes, there were periods, I think, where Man United could have taken better chances, could have been more clinical and could have changed the game, I think, in those moments. But Chelsea 100% agree. I agree. They definitely deserve to win it. But it was more balanced than 3-0 suggests, but it still wasn't I think Man United could have done so much better. I think it was disappointing from their end, if I'm going to be brutally honest.
I know it's a very one-sided tie and that Chelsea have won the majority, 14 out of 16, I think it is. But, it's in the latter, most recent years that Manchester United have managed to get points off Chelsea and that they knocked them out of the FA Cup in the semi-finals last year. And, when you look at that near the game where Chelsea actually won the title was actually United, I thought United deserved to win that game. They showed that they can perform. And I know Chelsea were kind of underperformed, but I thought United played well. And it's that lack of clinicalness, lack of creativity at times. And we've talked about that for a couple of years now, about creating clear quality chances, not just near the box, but actual quality chances that I think, again, they struggle with. They lack that kind of creativity. And maybe some of that is down to what we're going to talk about next, which is not starting Alatoon, which I just thought was quite an interesting choice.
Well, before we get on to that, so Mark Skinner has attributed the kind of loss at the weekend to, he said, I love my team, but I think you can see the difference. You just look at the changes with the substitutions. It's a totally different level of experience. We need that experience and quality to really make a difference. I think following on from what you were just saying there, Rach, then, just before the game, Alatoon was named Man United's Player of the Year for the 2nd consecutive season. Listener Shalvi has asked us on Instagram, absolutely great question, was Skinner's decision to leave her on the bench the right one? Rach, you look like you're ready to jump into this one.
Well, no, I just think he put Janssen in that position and I think he spoke about wanting to be more physical in the midfield to try and match Chelsea, which I get, but I don't really think that paid off. I think you then lost one of your maybe more creative outlets, which is one of the issues you had was that you weren't creative enough. As you touched on, Player of the Year for club, she's someone who knows how to score at Wembley. She turns up in the big occasions. Didn't she score in the last FA Cup? She scored in big games, European finals. Just an unusual. You talk about experience and lamenting maybe not having the same experience as Chelsea does, and then you leave someone with that kind of experience on the bench. I thought it was a really unusual decision, and it's something a lot of people kind of picked up on. I get his comments, and I feel that maybe it's a little bit of a plea for support to help close that gap in the summer. But I also think 1 minute, yeah, we should be here and we're a top 4 team and blah, 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 blah. The next minute, oh, woe is me, we can't match Chelsea. It's like either you can or you can't. You've beaten them before. It just felt a little bit of an excuse. But then I also know that managers are going to protect their players after a game and they're going to want to take that responsibility. But, it felt a little bit excusey for me, but also maybe a plea to the club to say, look, we need to invest further because, yes, Chelsea do have quality and they have quality and depth as well, which I think a lot of other teams are maybe lacking.
Well, we're definitely going to get onto the club ownership and what they are and aren't doing in a little second. But as we mentioned earlier, Chelsea took the lead inside the first half after Baltimore converted from the spot after Celine Bizet's high leg caught Erin Cuthbert. Bizet was arguing with the ref about it. To me, it felt a little bit futile, to be honest.
Yeah,
it felt
but you're
like
going to do that, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to plead your case 100%, but it was a clear-cut pen. I mean, definitely inside the box, definitely unnecessary in terms of like leg placement and how she'd brought her down. And it was really weird to watch actually in the slow-mo. It kind of looks like Erin kind of like falls almost like head first a little bit. So it looks kind of, I was like, I hope this isn't too bad. But yeah, I mean, what did you think, Rach? I'm assuming we're on the same page with this because it doesn't feel controversial in the slightest.
No, I was down the other end and even still I was like, that's a penalty. But yeah, I mean, I thought Erin Cuthbert played really well. She was just reminding me of like and Grace Clinton to a degree in the first half especially, they just reminded me of like annoying little gnats that were just buzzing around. They were everywhere, trying to break up play. Erin Cuthbert, I thought maybe excelled in that respect, but just that kind of dogged determination to be like, if you lose the ball, you get back and work your arse off to get it back, breaking up play when Manchester United had the ball, like, picking it up, driving into the box. I mean, that's how she won the penalty. I think she had a really kind of effective, and it kind of, sometimes she gets reduced to that kind of style of dogged play or whatever. Obviously, I think she's a very tactical, very good player, but you see that quality, that is such a quality to be able to just break up and disrupt other teams. And I think she did a very good job. You mentioned Sandy Baltimore as well, who converted that. I'm so glad she got a goal from open play because
100%.
She deserved it. And she did that multiple times. I watched her do it where she'd receive the ball from a cross with her back to goal and a defender on her back. She'd take it down. And more often than not, it's difficult to then, she's only a couple of yards from goal. It's difficult to turn around and convert it. She'd often feed it out to somebody else. But for her, I think she did that 3 or 4 times where she took the ball in like that, back to a defender. And I just felt, how is this happening every time? She's going to get a goal from this. And she did. And she was superb on the day.
She was absolutely incredible. She was definitely our player of the match, I think. And I feel like she's really grown into the season. I think especially since like January, I've kind of seen her grow into games. And I think that was kind of a culmination of like making, just life very difficult for Man United. Her pace, the areas that she gets into, the agility, like you said, picking up the balls on the edge of the box and the turn that she has. Like she can turn on a dime. And I think that was obviously how the last goal came about. But I thought she was absolutely brilliant, clearly loving it, ramping up the crowd as well after that. The penalty conversion as well. I just thought, she was really, really exciting to watch.
And I think as well, massive credit to her that she's played multiple positions this season. She's played out of a natural position, playing left back at times. I think with the back three, she was playing much higher up the pitch as well. Mm-hmm. So she could really see the impact of what she can do in front of goal. But like the fact that she stood out so much playing a defensive role throughout the season makes it all the more impressive and perhaps has just added even more quality to her game and more weapons to her game. And I guess, versatility, which I think is actually should be celebrated as a weapon in women's football and not like, especially if you're in a stacked team like Chelsea, if you're able to play in multiple positions, you're more than likely going to get in the team. So 100%. I think she's absolutely earned that spot, earned that goal, and earned that player of the match, I think, as well. I thought she was brilliant.
It's how she kind of reads the play though as well. I think like game management wise and like the positioning that she gets it, like, and how she reads what's going to happen next. Like some of those crosses that are delivered in, absolutely rapid, like straight across goal. Like, but she's quite a short player. Like, she's not going to get like the big like leaping headers like the Kat Macario like goal. She's like, it's just her positioning. Like she's just able to like. It's like a magnet to her and the ball. But yeah, I thought she was absolutely incredible. But yeah, it was quite actually funny, I suppose, to hear from Erin Cuthbert in sort of the link-up play that them two had, but how they kind of prepared for the game. So she was kind of saying post-match, Sonia put a curfew on us the last few weeks and now it's time to party. How impressive has this debut campaign for Sonia been? It sounds like, I mean, she knows when to focus, to prioritise, to, the business end of the season. She knows what she wanted to achieve this year. Didn't get the Champions League, but Christ, I mean, they had tough competition. And it kind of feels like this is exactly how the season should have really gone for her. I mean, your first season securing a treble, That's not a bad debut.
I mean, you say should have. I think if anyone, like, to be able to do that is incredible, and it shouldn't be understated to be able to come into, and we've spoken about it before, she was filling big boots. Like, what a stamp Emma Hayes had left on that club. Chelsea are the dominant team in football in England, in women's football. You know, coming into that is a big ask. And obviously she is a winner. She's a winning coach. But it's still a big ask. And, you know, multiple competitions as well. Like the FA Cup is different to the league, right? It offers something different. It's a prestigious competition. The Subway League Cup, again, is something different, right? Where it's almost the least prestigious competition, the way it's treated, you know, and there are different ways that you've to approach them and manage them and all that kind of stuff. So I think, yeah, it's been amazing. I think we're going to see even more of what she's about next season. And to be able to do what she's done in the first season is ridiculous. I'm intrigued to see now, you know, what kind of recruitment they do and how that's only going to, scarily for everybody else, improve next season.
Well, we've got a really good question in from listener Layla, who said to us, the treble is rare and a feat in itself. So the quadruple, is it ever really possible or likely to happen? There's a part of me that doesn't want it to happen. There's a part of me that wants the competitiveness in all of the competition so that you don't just have one clear-cut winner. And I think, obviously, there's so much fear, I think, around the Chelsea squad. And we're definitely going to get into like how even more fearful people might be going into next season with some additional investment from someone. But at the same time, like you want different teams to be winning different competitions and to be kind of creating that jeopardy amongst or like throughout the season. Is it possible? 100%. Like Chelsea are more than capable of doing it, but do we want it? Personally, I don't.
No, I think, look, it's not easy. And I think maybe we underestimate how difficult it is to do that across all seasons on every front. And then the Champions League, like it's hard enough to do what they did this season. And, you know, we've had different winners of the Subway League Cup. We've had different winners of the FA Cup in recent years, generally in and around the same group of teams, but there have been different winners. You know, if it was easy, every year Chelsea would be winning the treble. So it's not easy even to do that. To then have to go far in these competitions and still be in and around the final of the Champions League is really, really hard. So I expect other teams to improve, which will make it harder every year to do. So I do think it's going to be very difficult, but I do think Chelsea their goal is to do that, and they're building a squad to do that. So I think if an English team are going to do it anytime soon, it's most likely going to be Chelsea.
I think it's that you have to look at the squad depth that Sonia's built, and I think that's the scariest thing, that she could field pretty much anyone out of that squad and still put together a pretty decent team that would show up on a bad day. And I think the hardest thing, I suppose, about the quadruple is that you have to be near on perfect the entire year round. Like there can't be drop-offs, there can't be, you know, crap games in a second leg. Like you have to show up every single game, and that is with the travel, the European travel, the other like competitions that might be going on. It feels it's definitely possible, but I think there's maybe factors outside of your control, like injuries and things like that. It really, like, there are factors outside, I think, the club's in control that can impact that. So yeah, if anyone's going to do it, Chelsea, but do I really want to see that? No, and not just because I'm well better. Talking of Chelsea and the fearfulness that everyone's going to have going into next season, more news about some investment going into the squad. So Reddit founder Alexis Ohanian, who was at Wembley with his wife Serena Williams, has bought a 8 to 10% share in Chelsea Women, believed to be worth around 20 mil. Bompastor has called it game-changing. Rach, you were there, almost within touching distance of Serena Williams. What was it like actually seeing her pitchside at half time?
Absolutely mental, like one of the greatest athletes of our time. Just there, standing there, like on the pitch.
Breathing the same air.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Everyone was obsessed with the fact, and we put something up about her being there, and then all in our comments, people were going like, yeah, but all she did was be on her phone. She was on her phone all the time. She didn't even care. She was on her phone. And it's like, right, so the camera maybe panned to her like 4 or 5 times and she was on her phone. Like, who cares? She's at the game. They've flown over. Everyone's just so desperate to like attach a negative to something really cool. Like, maybe football's not her thing. She went there to support her husband, who's just become an investor at this massive game. Their kid was there. Like, so she was on her phone a couple of times. It's just so funny that was the thing everyone like picked out of it. It's like, who cares? Serena Williams is here. This is amazing.
Also, she's one of the most powerful women in sport. She's probably incredibly busy. Yeah, I was going to say, those emails need responding to. So everyone fucking back off. So Alexis has described Chelsea as being the queens of global soccer. His investment put Chelsea women at around £245 million. That is such a massive valuation. He has previously invested in women's football as the largest shareholder in Angel City FC until it was sold in 2024 for £192.3 million. The numbers are going up and going up rapidly. This is not play money anymore. This is ridiculous levels. Rach, what do we kind of make of all this? I mean, it's incredible that we've got someone, so committed, clearly really cares, a genuine investor, committed to, I suppose, the long-term vision of Chelsea. My fear is Chelsea were probably the last team in the WSL who needed additional investment.
This is what I was going to say.
Out of all the teams in the WSL who could have done with an additional £20 million, Chelsea probably the last ones that I would have picked.
At least you're backing a winner, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like, you're guaranteed like at least some trophies, I suppose, for that money. But at the same time, it does feel like the competitiveness, again, feels a little bit more at risk every single time Chelsea pick up more and more money to invest in a better squad that inevitably is going to produce better results, win more trophies, and widen the gap potentially between them and the rest of the league. That's my fear.
This is what I was going to say. Like, it should be scary for every other club because it will force them to buck up their ideas perhaps and properly invest. But yes, like you say, part of me wishes these wealthy women's sports advocates would invest in other clubs that maybe don't have the same finances. Where's Adele and Ed Sheeran and, I don't know, Olivia Colman, like coming in and backing clubs in women's football in England. It is amazing, and I don't want to detract from that. I think it's incredible that these kind of investors are out there, and it's proof that you can get investors into a women's team. And I know we're going to come on to it later on about the sustainability of leaning so much on your men's team, but like there is proof that can happen. But yeah, I mean, it's not like you're backing, like I said, a losing horse by investing that kind of money in Chelsea. So maybe it will encourage others to open their purses and invest in women's teams and maybe delineate between men's and women's teams and what you invest in. It could be interesting if they could start pulling in their own investment and not be relying so much on the men's.
Well, a stark contrast to the male heroes of the game, I suppose, who are investing in women's sports and see its value. Talking of someone who doesn't quite see the same kind of vision, and who wasn't at the game on Sunday, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, surprise, surprise. He'd been at Stamford Bridge to watch the men's side lose to Chelsea in the Premier League on Friday. Did we kind of expect anything less from this man, given the controversial comments that have come out of his mouth most of the season? It was quite interesting to hear from Mark Skinner, who was asked about this. And he said, in all honesty, I don't know why he wasn't here, but we were well represented. The reality is that it is the investment in the team that needs to happen, not whether you are visible. Investment is a way of showing support, and we need to close that gap. He then kind of went further, Skinner, not one to stop when he should. On Alexis being there, Skinner said, visibility is key, and I get that they're flown over. Let's see how many times they fly over in the season for Chelsea. It's a final, so it's easy for them to do so, and credit to them.
Sorry, if it's so easy, where was Jim? Like, you've just walked yourself into that by saying it's easy to come to your final, and Jim didn't come. I'm not surprised he didn't come, and I'm not surprised there were questions, and I know they find it annoying, but you're going to get them. There was an article in the BBC where it says, none of his business. It's quite like Ruben Amorim would not be able to offer any clarity on the reasons for Ratcliffe not being at Old Trafford on any given match day for a men's team. Hello, this isn't any given match day. This is the FA Cup final that your women are in for a third time, in a row, and you won it the last time. Despite everything you have done to unsettle them and instill a complete lack of confidence in the club and the direction the women's team has taken, they've still managed to reach an FA Cup final that you don't attend. Like they were saying, there's irritation among significant figures at Old Trafford on why the focus remains around Ratcliffe and United when the same does not apply to other big Premier League clubs and their owners when it comes to their presence at the women's game. It's because every time Ratcliffe opens his mouth, he's desperate to tell everyone how little he cares about the women's team. You bring it on yourself.
100%.
If you just got some comms wrapped around it to stop that, you would avoid all of this. And also, it's going to come, so prep yourself comms-wise as well. It's a manageable situation, but unsurprisingly, it's not being all that well managed because he keeps
also
opening his mouth.
a clear disparity between how you treat the men's and how you treat the women's, in terms of you actually went to go and see your men's side at like in the Premier League on the Friday. So why the fuck you've not turned up to the women's side? I can't. Anyway, Alexis reposted on Twitter/X saying challenge accepted.
Why
for him.
Call him out? Like, come on.
Honestly, the man has unlimited amounts of money, can do pretty much whatever he wants, and has a clear commitment to women's sports. Like, Mark, don't set. Yeah, 100%. You're never going to win this one, but well done for doing that.
I appreciate he's in a difficult position because he's not going to be negative about his own owners. But you don't then have to go one step further and go, yeah, well, let's see where you are on a rainy night and Lee and blah, blah, blah.
Childish. So childish. So unnecessary as well.
I can imagine Serena and Alexis turning up to like King's Meadow or like, of a Wednesday night. Like, do you know what I mean?
That would be absolutely iconic. Serena Williams at Kings Meadow would be absolutely iconic. It would bring the fucking roof down. So Manchester United's media officer then stepped into Mark Skinner's post-match press conference and said, "I don't think we need any more gym questions. We are focusing on the match."
Well, to be fair, if he's not prepped for it, if he's not been properly prepped for it, they need to shut it down somehow. And I get it. Like, there's only I do appreciate sometimes there's only so many ways you can ask the same fucking question. If he's already answered saying, I don't know where Jim is or why he's not here, and has given his feedback, why go in again? Like, I do find that quite frustrating at games where it's like everyone wants to get an answer to the same question for themselves. And it's like, you're in a room, you're in a press conference, you take the answer that's been given, you move on. We see it all the time at like England pressers and stuff like that. He has answered the question. I'd be like, Jesus, should we talk about our loss? I didn't actually want to, but now I want to talk about the fact that we've lost the bloody game.
Well, that should have come actually in our awards section, to be fair. Like, things that I didn't ever see coming. What the fuck moments. Rachel sticking up for Mark Skinner in a press conference when being badgered about something that is pretty poor form from the club. So I'll take that as a what the fuck moment for...
But he answered it. What else are you going to say? Like, I don't know, what more do you want? You got to give a pretty meaty answer. You've gotten plenty of lines out of his answer. What more? Like, why go back in again with more questions?
Leave the man alone. He's fine.